you touch your meat, to take a walk down the street while killers be killing and killing and killing. Nailsin News.
Good evening. Tonight, the kiss of death and other tales. Yeah, there's a few others. And I'll be covering those for you, the people. Of course, I got to do the usual check because there's always a problem, so just bear with me. No, there it is. Everything's good and goody gumdrop and all that. I mean, hey, where the hell's my banner? Man, come on. Do the banner. There it is. Super tip. Say, you can do. Oh, wait, that's the wrong one. Maybe it needs this one. That's the one that has super tip in it. Yeah. There we go. See, that's better. I mean, I got it up in the corner of the screen too, but you get the deal. So, that'd be nice. Again, I only have the two voices on it, but and if you just want to send a text one, that'll work too. Rumble Rants, PayPal. Come on, everybody. That would be just delightful. And I've got to remember to, sell my comic book at the old store. So we'll do that. Oh, crap. I got to do a Wednesday comic show. How the hell? Oh, well, hopefully I'll figure that out by the end of this show. Try to keep it into an hour, maybe a little over, and then that'll do that. But I got a lot of stuff to do, so I'm more than likely not going to be on the Doomcock show later tonight because I'll be exhausted and dead to the world. But sometime in the night, I will rise again, and then I could do a live stream then. It'll just be me. Probably do a drawing one. Yeah. All right, that sounds like a plan. So there you go. See, there's something. So anyway, oh boy, this news story we got is an old one from a few months back in September, and it does sound familiar, but it came up in my feed of one of the news aggregators, whatever, and so I saved the wow, look at that. So I saved the links, and now this will make a new Nailsin news story, and I went to go collect it and get the lineup of stories for the show here, and the link's gone. And I said, oh, maybe because it's really old, and the details sounded familiar, but some of the details aren't. And I wanted to, damn, how could I forget this one? It's gruesome. And so maybe it was just that it was old and they pulled it or something. I don't know. And sometimes, an old story will pop up because there's been some update, the case or the trial or what have you has begun, something of that nature. But this is from September 11th of all things. But I probably did this one before, but I don't quite recall. So we'll get through this one first and then on to the other great stories of murder and mayhem. And don't worry, I did find some stories so we can that aren't so nasty, so we can end on a light note. Isn't that sweet? That's right. Because I'm sweet. Yeah. All right, here we go. Illegal immigrant allegedly beheaded Dallas motel manager with machete, kicked head like a soccer ball. That's just absolutely disgraceful, Bad enough you beheaded the poor man, but did you have to do that, So, motel Murder Machete Madness. Yeah, see, that'll work. That's probably a title for that one. Anyway, an illegal immigrant with a lengthy criminal history who was released under the Biden administration was arrested after allegedly beheading a motel manager in front of his family and kicking his head like a soccer ball. Jeez, in front of the family. It says allegedly beheaded. He either beheaded him or he didn't, you know? But I guess they mean, did some other crazy accident happen in between him and the machete and his head bouncing around? I don't know. Anyway, Jordanis Cobos Martinez, maybe I don't know, 37, started an argument with his manager, Chandra Nagamalia, I think. I apologize if I got it wrong, but that's the best I can do. At a downtown suites motel in Dallas, while cleaning a room with another employee at the motel. Nagamalia, 50, told the pair not to use a washing machine that was broken. But Cobos Martinez, a Cuban national, grew irate over the manager enlisting the motel worker to translate the instructions instead of speaking to him in Spanish. Well, maybe Nagamalia doesn't speak Spanish. You ever think of that? So there's Jordanis. So surveillance footage then allegedly caught Cobos Martinez leaving the room, pulling out a machete and slashing Nagamalia. The manager bolted to the motel's office where his son and wife were. While still under attack, Nagamalia's panicked wife and son tried to intervene, but Cobos Martinez continued to slaughter him until his head was removed from his body. Cobos Martinez then gruesomely kicked Nagamalia's head twice into the parking lot, picked it up, then threw it into the dumpster. Jeez. Witnesses called 911 and found Cobos Martinez covered in his slain manager's blood and still holding the machete a few blocks away. So, it looks like that officer's holding the machete and the other one's like, yep, that's a machete. And then there's Jordanis on the ground. Anyway, he allegedly admitted to police during a video interview that he killed his manager. He had been in the custody of ICE's enforcement and removal operations at the Blue Bonnet Detention Center in Anson, but was released on January 13th under the Biden administration. Great. The barbaric criminal was released because Cuba would not accept him because of his criminal history. Yeah, seems they don't want to behead our guy there either. Anyway, Cobos Martinez allegedly used a machete to behead a merchant he had an argument with in front of the merchant's spouse and child. Yeah, right. Reportedly, Cobos Martinez then they're telling the same story over. The maniac motel worker also has a laundry list of prior criminal charges. You don't say. Cobos Martinez was charged with aggravated assault in 2018 in Harris County, but pled guilty to a misdemeanor assault charge and was sentenced to 1 year in jail. Well, there you go. Aggravated assault. I wonder how bad it was. I'm assuming a machete was not involved in that one. But while he was facing charges in Harris County, authorities realized he was also wanted in California for carjacking, false imprisonment, and failure to appear. And he was extradited there to face charges. In 2017, he was arrested in South Lake Tahoe for trying to carjack a 22-year-old woman while naked. All right, look, the guy's batshit. Come on, you know. But what's the worst that could happen? Let him go. Okay. Cobos Martinez has been charged with capital murder and is being held without bond. Well, I think you know what to do to avoid any future activities in Martinez's career. Will they? Well, it is Texas, so you got that going for it. But yeah, it didn't have to happen, did it? First of all, he doesn't belong here. And second of all, you had plenty of signs detailing what this guy's all about. Yeah. And all it took was just, the manager doesn't speak Spanish, so off with his head. I mean, come on. So there you go. That's great. That's just fine. So there we are. We're all caught up with the story. I probably already detailed, but I detailed it again. You know, because because I mean, the guy's beheading his boss and kicking his head around like a soccer ball. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but to me, that's weird. You know? I think so. Yeah, I think this is the next one. So we'll go with this. Step right up. You're the next contestant on Nailsin News. Here, yeah. Wife helps husband slit throat with box cutter as part of suicide pact with son that included watching a Stephen King movie together, eating steak as a final meal. I wonder which movie it was. Was it his, reboot of The Shining that he did with Steven Weber, No wonder they were different. Anyway, a Florida woman experiencing the stress of family difficulties and medical ailments of her son with Asperger's syndrome decided the best thing to do would be carrying out a suicide pact with him and her husband, who tried telling police it was their disabled son who came up with the idea. And you listened to him. Anyway, all three survived. So there you go. You got the good news. Barbara Bates. Norman? I don't know. 59 allegedly admitted to detectives with the Lee County Sheriff's Office that she planned the homicide of her family over a period of months and actively sought to acquire a firearm without success. Well, I guess something worked out. Barbara obtained sleeping medication with the sole intent of distributing it to her family, and then utilized a bladed instrument to lacerate her husband's and son's throats with the intent of ending their life. Well, lives, right? Because it's two of them. Anyway, the statement says, noting how Bates claimed her husband, Neil Bates, 64, was in agreement that they needed to die along with their adult son. Neil refused to admit that the suicidal plan was his idea or Barbara's, claiming that the son was the one wishing to die and that they all eventually came to the consensus to participate. Wow, this kid, he's an adult. He's really charismatic, huh? He really had him bamboozled on that. Neil claimed that their son was more intelligent than most people his age. All right. So he's the smartest one there, despite his problems, But also did not feel that he would be able to live by himself without care, citing his bursts of irrationalness and decision-making. Yeah. Well, according to Barbara Bates, the family was about to be evicted. And on the brink of being homeless. So a plan was formulated to commit suicide together before the eviction was served. Oh, yeah. But she purchased alcohol and sleeping pills to consume and even planned a last meal and movie they would watch together. Wow. Was it a really long one? Anyway, on November 3rd, Barbara commuted to the Homestead Road Publix to purchase the final family meal of steak. Barbara selected the horror movie The Long Walk Yeah, I haven't watched that one, so I don't know. Anyway, as a last family event, a horror movie, on your way out. Like in Soylent Green when Edward G. Robertson was going out and they gave him a sweet ambient musical presentation with beautiful scenery of nature and stuff like that. No, they decided to go for a horror movie. Anyway, halfway through the movie, Neil Bates drank alcohol while their son consumed a handful of sleeping pills, as provided by Barbara. After distributing the pills, Barbara Bates allegedly said she consumed the remainder and then moved the family to the master bedroom. Wow, she was able to carry these two guys, where Neil pulled out a box cutter. After the movie ended. I don't guess there's any end credit stuff or anything like that, maybe. I don't know. After the son and Neil were laying down next to each other, Neil utilized the blade to lacerate the right side of his neck. Barbara stated that she did not believe the cut was deep enough, so she retrieved the blade and cut the right side of Neil's throat. To speed the process, Barbara lifted Neil's arm and cut 2 parallel lacerations to increase the flow to avoid clotting. Barbara Bates allegedly moved to the opposite side of the bed and stabbed her son in the neck near his left ear, slicing his throat downward to the larynx. She admitted to remaining in the room for approximately 30 to 40 minutes, monitoring the blood flow, according to the probable cause statement. After losing patience, she sat next to her son and commenced lacerating her wrists. Barbara purposely waited for over 40 minutes to guarantee that they would not be resuscitated by first responders. After waiting, Barbara Bates allegedly called 911, reported what happened. Deputies responded to the scene at around 4:38 p.m. and found the family inside. Barbara was still conscious and told first responders that she had cut the other occupants. Barbara voiced her displeasure that law enforcement responded so efficiently and did not allow a more significant time gap for the family to complete the process. Did she tell them that over the phone? Say, look, no rush. Take your time. So the family was rushed to a local hospital where the son, who's described as having overt developmental disabilities and Asperger's, allegedly spoke to detectives. He recounted lying down next to his father on the master bedroom bed and closing his eyes as Neil Bates began cutting his wrist, while his mother was slicing his father's neck open with the box cutter. The son became nervous after feeling his father's blood saturate his right arm. His mother then cut his throat, making him panic and change his mind and no longer wanted to participate. Neil Bates, however, told police that it was their son who urged them to keep going through with the suicide pact after he became impatient and wanted to die. Neil allegedly refused to admit to cutting the son, instead stating that he did not want to hurt him, and out of cowardice, proceeded to cut himself in the neck and arm with the box cutter. Neil later changed his story, stating that he knew he cut his neck, but did not remember cutting his arm. Oh, well, all right then. Neil claimed that they were all being irrational, yes, that night, and no longer wished to kill himself. Neil stated that he regretted following through with the plan. Yeah. Neil Bates allegedly described his son as being officially diagnosed with Asperger's and that he also has several physical limitations and conditions, which led him not making it past the 5th grade due to outbursts he would have. Neil stated that he informally homeschooled the son without following an official education program, only teaching him several subjects he should know. Barbara Bates said her son's condition was just one of several difficulties she and Neil Bates were facing at the time they planned the suicide pact. After experiencing the stress of family difficulties, medical ailments of her son and husband, the loss of jobs, and finally the eviction notice, Barbara concluded that she would no longer want to continue living. So maybe it's more of Barbara's idea. Barbara informed her family of the predicament, with the possibility of being homeless, in which the victims also stated a lost desire to live. Doctors treated all three individuals for their injuries and expect them to recover with no observable complications. Barbara Bates allegedly told police in the hospital that she still wished that the plan had succeeded and did not demonstrate any remorse for what happened. Barbara Bates is charged with attempted murder and aggravated child abuse. Child. While Neil Bates is facing charges of criminal attempt to commit a life felony and aggravated abuse of a disabled adult. Well, yeah, I mean, it's disabled adult abuse at this point, but I don't know, maybe he's at the limit. But the guy said he's a genius, and because Asperger's is kind of like, you're on the spectrum there too. So sometimes he can be really brilliant in some things, but the guy keeps having these outbursts and stuff. I don't know. Anyway, they're being held without bond. Since she's still regretting it didn't work, it looks like Mama is the main villain here. But, useless dad, yeah, whatever. Yeah, we're going to get evicted, so, So that's the deal. But to say, hey, it was the boy's idea. Yeah, don't look at me. Oh, he did it. He sure did. Yeah. So, yeah, but I think it's like, oh, crap. We're out of money. We're going to get evicted. Good God, this is miserable. And, Mama wears the trousers in that house, and that's that. But then again, she didn't really go through it either. None of them. They didn't, if you really wanted to, they'd be gone. But so there you go. Yeah, it's a sad story and everything, but really nutty. And, well, of course it is. So, yeah. Geez, maybe we should have thought about this. Well, I don't know. Especially since it doesn't seem you really wanted to do it. Yeah. I don't know. Can you explain these people? Well, man committed series of brutal pre-dawn attacks on women in parking lots. So, yeah, he looks the type. A Virginia man will likely spend the rest of his life behind bars for a series of brutal attacks on women. In July, Thomas O'Brien, 44, was convicted of 1 count each of murder in second degree, abduction, forcible sodomy, attempted forcible sodomy, as well as 2 counts each of malicious wounding. Oh, yeah. And using a firearm in the commission of felonies. So Judge Devin R. Page sentenced the defendant to 58 years in prison with another 70 years suspended if he meets certain conditions over the course of his incarceration. Why give him that? The judge upbraided the defendant for targeting vulnerable women and using them like disposable commodities to rage against when they did not comply with his orders. O'Brien's pattern of predatory violence spanned several years, dating back to October 2021, when he repeatedly stabbed 51-year-old Angela Renee Joyner inside his SUV. In order to escape the rampage, Joyner jumped out of a window while the vehicle was moving and walked a few steps before collapsing in the intersection of Tidewater Drive and East Little Creek Road in Norfolk. Bystanders found Miss Joyner bleeding profusely from her head and called Norfolk police, and medics rushed Miss Joyner to the hospital for surgery. Miss Joyner died the following day. The medical examiner determined the woman's excessive stab wounds contributed to her blunt force trauma death. But at the time, the connection to the defendant was nil, and Joyner's case languished until O'Brien was arrested in 2023. That year, the defendant brutally attacked 2 women during the early morning hours. Those attacks were marked by the recurrent geography of pre-dawn parking lots. At around 4 a.m. on March 26, 2003, O'Brien picked up a woman who was walking through a parking lot and forced her to perform oral sex at gunpoint. At one point, the victim spat on her attacker, and O'Brien shot the woman through the head before trying to force her to continue performing oral sex. Miraculously, the bullet entered and exited her skull, leaving only a flesh wound. Wow. Man. Feeling herself bleeding and realized that Mr. O'Brien was driving faster, the victim opened the passenger door of the SUV and jumped out of the moving vehicle, breaking her ankle in the process. Good Lord. Wow. Investigators operating with a description of the defendant's SUV soon found the vehicle and had their suspicions, but lacked enough evidence to make an arrest until the man struck again. Just a month later, April 27th, 2023, O'Brien, this time driving a van, I need to get rid of this vehicle. Again, offered a ride to a woman walking through a parking lot at around 3:30 a.m. Again, O'Brien aimed to have sex with the woman, and again, she declined. I mean, yeah, you saw his picture. But this time she offered to perform oral sex in exchange for money. Oh. O'Brien agreed, and the victim consensually performed oral sex on Mr. O'Brien. While Mr. O'Brien was driving, the victim could feel the vehicle turning in the wrong direction. So she sat up, asked Mr. O'Brien where he was going, and asked for her payment. Mr. O'Brien told the victim to keep performing oral sex, pointed a gun at her head, and grabbed her hair to pull her head toward his lap. See, look, come on, asshole. She worked out a deal. Pay her and she'll do it. That's all you had to do. Cheap bastard. For the second time in as many months, the victim jumped out of the moving vehicle and sustained serious injuries, but survived. Later, armed with a description of the van provided by the woman, police found both vehicles parked near each other at O'Brien's address on Elk Avenue. All right, come on. You're figuring this one out, right? The next morning, when the defendant got inside the van, officers swarmed the vehicle, and he was arrested. Prosecutors used extensive evidence to connect the man to the attacks, including ballistics, fluid, and macabre telltale keepsakes. Inside Mr. O'Brien's house, they found Miss Joyner's driver's license and a gun. And in the SUV, they found a single bullet casing which matched the gun inside the house. Homicide detectives traced Mr. O'Brien's vehicle records and found that SUV he had sold shortly after he killed Miss Joyner. The detectives located that vehicle in West Virginia, got permission from the new owners to search the vehicle, and found traces of blood between the center console and passenger seat. Ooh. Those new owners are like, what? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you were driving around in a crime scene, the crime scene of a murder. Anyway, in resulting interviews, O'Brien admitted to almost everything. He said he picked up each woman and recalled each of them jumping from his moving vehicle. He denied, however, shooting the second victim and said he did not know Joyner had died. Oh, well, that makes it different. Yeah, I mean, geez. Hey, I don't remember shooting her, but, well, you did. My heart breaks for the victims of Mr. O'Brien's violent crimes, both the victims who survived and the victim who Mr. O'Brien so callously murdered, said Commonwealth's attorney Raymond Fetti? I don't know. Said in a statement, while Mr. O'Brien's own abuse may explain how he has become the person he is today, and while nobody should suffer such abuse, it is no excuse for his terrible crimes, and the violence of Mr. O'Brien's offenses of public safety require that he spend the rest of his life in prison. The judge's sentence may not have been life, but it is essentially the same thing. We hope that this outcome brings closure and a measure of peace to the victims and their families. Virginia, what the hell's the matter with you? This is death penalty all over the place. Well, it's kind of close to a life sentence. What's the point of forcing these victims to pay their taxes to feed this sack of shit? Man, holy crap. But I guess that's the trick, you know. Hey, if this guy isn't worthy of a death penalty, why have a death penalty? Yeah. Is that the plan? What else does he have to do to prove he's a monster? Yeah. Whatever. So, there you go. O'Brien. Yeah, I didn't know that one died. Huh. Well, do I get points for saying I'm sorry? What, do you mean it? Sure. Yeah. Okay. 85-year-old knew he hit something when he ran over a 91-year-old woman in grocery store parking lot and drove home. His mugshot, his face is like, I guess I hit somebody. A Florida man allegedly told police that he knew he hit something in the grocery store parking lot when he fatally struck an elderly woman and left the scene. Daryl Briggs, 85, posted $50,000 bond after he was arrested on a charge of leaving the scene of a crash involving death. The alleged incident happened around 5 p.m. in the parking lot of a Publix grocery store in St. Petersburg, Florida. Briggs was behind the wheel when he allegedly struck 91-year-old Mary Broughton and continued driving out of the parking lot. Briggs then drove home to his apartment following the alleged crash. Broughton was taken to the hospital where she died of her injuries. After officers from the St. Petersburg Police Department tracked Briggs down at his apartment, where they located the vehicle that was allegedly seen at the crash site, they placed him under arrest. Briggs had told officers that he knew he had hit something in the parking lot, but he allegedly chose to drive away instead of stopping. He figured, hey, it's probably just a dog, right? Or maybe I hit part of those little curb things that holds the shopping carts. It was that, right? No. So Briggs was booked into the Pinellas County Jail on one count of leaving the scene of a crash causing death, which happens to be a felony. He posted the $50,000 bond, and he's got a court date. Well, the St. Petersburg police said they are continuing to investigate the incident. So maybe they could prove he had a better view, and he knew better, and he just ran home like, oh no. And, of course, they got security cameras out there and all that, so, you weren't going to get away with it or anything, but I wonder how it happened. I mean, did she fall over and then he runs over her? Or he's so blind at this point that he was just, of course, I don't know. Do they describe the vehicle? Like, was he in a big truck, and that sort of thing? And she was like really petite. Crash, Bobby, death happened. No. Driving. No. No. So I don't know. So I suppose it could have been something like that. If she had like tripped and fell and he comes around and just, doesn't see her. Otherwise, I don't know. How does this accidentally happen? But it probably did. It's probably just, hey, you shouldn't be driving anymore because, he's 85. Yeah, all right. I think this proves that you can never have a driver's license again. How many years will he get? Well, considering his age, and I was like, well, it's an accident. Yeah, that's why they got to continue to investigate. really study that security footage. And wait a minute, you had full view. Then later on, find out they had a history and all this sort of stuff, and he's still broken up about it. And maybe that could be the deal. Other than that, well, it wasn't malicious. So there you go. Gee, it's sad and all that, but he's got to pay a price of some sort. I don't know, but you're supposed to look. Yeah. And he says, "Well, I know I hit something. What was it?" Well, tenant catapults landlord off scaffolding after being mocked for getting upset over owner's loud music and singing while putting up siding. Well, yeah, that can be really annoying, but still. Michael Bazazzi the second, number 2, 36, was sentenced to serve 1 to 5 years in prison for the April 2024 incident in Weirton after entering an Alfred play. Basically, all right, you got me. I'm not going to say I'm guilty, but you got me. A criminal complaint obtained by Law and Crime describes how Bazazzi, his landlord, suffered a separated shoulder and torn rotator cuff. Ooh, geez, from the fall. Bazazzi was charged with unlawful assault and in August accepted, the Alfred plea, which is okay, you're explaining it. But not an admission of guilt, but a concession that the prosecution has enough evidence for a conviction at trial. And I'm not even going to bother trying to explain it because you did it, right? So Bazazzi stated that Mr. Barger, his landlord, was outside playing loud music and singing while putting up siding. Mr. Bazazzi then stated that he went outside and told the landlord to keep it down. After telling the landlord to keep it down, the landlord blew a kiss at Mr. Bazazzi. Oh, that pissed him off. I wonder what the music was. Was it really god awful, or just a particular band or artist that Bazazzi just cannot stand? And then this guy's trying to sing along, and it's horrible. Probably that. But what are you going to do, Sometimes you got to put up with some shizness in life, Anyway, Bazazzi told police that he initially went back inside the residence before coming back out to confront the landlord again. Mr. Bazazzi grabbed the scaffolding in a stern manner and yelled, "Keep it down!" Mr. Bazazzi stated that he did not shake the scaffolding. Police spoke to the landlord at the hospital where he was treated for his injuries and were told that Bazazzi started pushing his scaffolding and that he fell to the ground. Well, okay, he pushed it, but he didn't shake it. Huh? Anyway, officers responded to the home and found the landlord being treated by EMTs. Bazazzi was arrested and initially charged with misdemeanor assault. His charge was later upgraded to felony malicious or unlawful assault following a court appearance. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to admit anything, but, I'll go the Alfred plea. So he did. Because he did it. I mean, come on. I didn't shake it. So what else could have happened? Well, he was singing really loud, probably, dancing a lot, and that made it shake. I just, was kind of there, and maybe I touched it. I'm not saying I did, and that's it. So maybe it was the landlord's fault. He's up there dancing and singing and stuff. You're supposed to be doing work, stupid. I don't know. Anyway, he fell, got some serious injury, and that's it for Bazazzi or whatever the hell his name was. Anyway, there you go. See? Everything's fixed. Here we go. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Killer scrubbed body with easy off oven cleaner after binding victim with shoelace and murdering him by mechanical asphyxia. Ooh. Oh, that's the face of evil there. You see how smug and proud he is in his mugshot? Yeah. So Clay Fossey, now 37, is facing a second-degree murder charge in the death of Thomas Hess in Seattle. A probable cause arrest affidavit says Hess's roommates found him dead around 2 a.m. on February 14th, 2015, in his apartment in the 2300 block of First Avenue. Hess was covered by blankets and had a perforated leather sheet or mask over his face. A shoelace bound his wrists behind his back, the affidavit stated. Detectives noted they could smell oven cleaner on his body. They found a can of Easy Off oven cleaner next to his feet. It was probably from that. The autopsy revealed evidence of blunt force injuries to the face, neck, and torso, which included several broken bones. A medical examiner listed the cause of death as probable mechanical asphyxia, which is death caused by obstruction of breathing pathways. You got that? All right. Residents of the apartment complex used a key card to enter the building. Records show the last time Hess entered the apartment was shortly after 3 p.m., February 12th, 2015. Surveillance camera footage showed he went inside with an unknown male. That same male was seen leaving the building some 7 hours later. Investigators in the months after the crime sent several pieces of evidence to the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab, including nail clippings. More than a year later, a match came back to Fossey, who at the time was in the Bernalillo County Jail in New Mexico on unrelated charges. Detectives in August 2016 submitted Foss's DNA to the crime lab, which confirmed the match. So it took this long to get him for this? Anyway, in 2024, more items were submitted for DNA analysis, including neck swabs. In May, it was confirmed that the swabs originated from Hess and Fossey. Records show Fossey is currently serving a prison sentence in New Mexico's Department of Corrections for aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. Cops say Fossey has an extensive criminal history, which includes convictions for kidnapping and false imprisonment. He also was arrested in Washington State in the weeks after the alleged murder for assault and criminal trespass. The affidavit did not include a motive for the murder or how the suspect and victim came to know each other. Who the hell knows? But Washington State, I mean, it's pretty nuts over there now, but were they that soft on crime then too, you know? And he's all right, let him go. And, he'd already killed somebody. Probably more, they just don't know about it yet. Look how long it took him to nail him on this one, you know? So, odds are. And just the look of that mugshot. Come on, he's like, yeah. So, there you go. Well, you got one of the monsters. Good job, I guess. Oh, well. Jeez. All this stuff really, really, it's really depressing. Huh? I'm going to be bummed out all day. Well, let's see what this next story can do for us. I don't know. Let's see how this goes. Whoops. Well, okay. Woman fell asleep on top of baby, turning him gray after drinking 6-pack of rum. Yeah, there's mommy. Sarah Jameson, 31, stands charged with child neglect from the October 18th incident, Tulsa County District Courts reveal. The defendant is scheduled to be arraigned. Yeah, the last thing Jameson remembered the night before was drinking a 6-pack of beer. Voodoo Rangers Juice Force, to be exact. I'm not familiar. They don't have that at the old store. Which is odd. I mean, it's Louisiana. You think we would have a drink called. It's probably somewhere, But anyway, as well as taking a shot of rum. That same night, the child's father returned home from work at about 10 p.m. And he drank with Jameson on their couch until she brought the baby with her to bed. The mother had been experiencing postpartum depression. And while she said she did not drink during her pregnancy, she did start about 6 weeks after birth. Her disorder with her baby boy was worse than with her previous children. At some point, the father is said to have gone to bed and noticed the baby was not breathing under Jameson's shoulder. The father then proceeded to try CPR and called 911. Officers arrived at about 5:45 a.m. to a startling sight. The baby was gray and not breathing, and Jameson only woke after officers shined a flashlight on her, yelled, and shook her bed for approximately 2 minutes. The smell of alcohol was present in the air. The mother reportedly slurred her speech as she spoke and said, "If I can't stand, I might as well be too." Then Jameson allegedly added, "I said I needed help. I tried to get help." Yeah. Well, anyway, about 3 hours later, when the defendant's blood was drawn by law enforcement, her fluid alcohol level was 0.309. Bixby is a city in eastern Oklahoma, located about 22 miles south of Tulsa and 113 miles of Oklahoma City. And that's it. I mean, did the child live? Now, what was her charges again? The mother's accused of falling asleep drunk and smothering 3 months ago. Killing the child. Oh, good Lord. Yeah. So the child died. Jeez. Hey, look, I said I needed help. But she didn't drink while she was pregnant, you understand. So, and then the postpartum depression on top, it's like, well, yeah, probably shouldn't get that drunk with the kid. But then it's kind of like, okay, honey, you get drunk, I'll deal with the kid while you're passed out on the floor. Maybe that, not both of you, And we could smell alcohol in the air. Well, it wasn't just in the air, unfortunately. It's this one. Okay. Well, but sometimes, the kids can turn on mom, We've seen that a time or two. Apparently, this is the case here. Mom who tried to kill I got it wrong. This is, jeez, I thought this was a woman who killed her brother. Oh, okay, my mistake. Mom who tried to kill wheelchair-bound son and regretted he survived headed to prison, but not for long as prosecutors wanted. Ooh, jeez. Ooh. Prosecutors wanted to keep a 65-year-old Minnesota mother behind bars for nearly 2 decades for trying to kill her adult special needs son. But a judge rebuffed that request and sent her to prison for a far shorter sentence. Julie Meyer Schnell, I guess, was sentenced to prison for 3 years after admitting that she attempted to kill her wheelchair-bound son by dumping crushed up anti-anxiety pills into a feeding bag at his group home. Schnell pled guilty in July to one count of attempted first-degree murder in connection with the December 2023 incident. Meyer Schnell reached a deal with prosecutors in which he agreed to plead guilty in exchange for dismissal of the aggravating factor that the victim was particularly vulnerable. How do you dismiss it? He was and is. Prosecutors wanted Meyer Schnell to go to prison for 18 years, which was the maximum sentence allowed under the guidelines. But the judge went far below the maximum, a decision prosecutors Ron Hocevar strongly opposed. The state pointed out that the defendant systematically tried to kill her disabled son, her own child. You can't get more evil than that, can you? Prior to her plea, defendant showed little to no remorse. Defendant told law enforcement she regretted her son survived her attempts. A 36-month sentence for attempted murder is why people feel the justice system is flawed. Yeah. Said the prosecutor. Meyer Schnell was in the midst of divorce here we go. With Minnesota Department of Corrections Commissioner Paul Schnell. Wow. Well, she's got connections, huh? When she was arrested in August 2024. Following her arrest, the couple's divorce was finalized, and Schnell filed for an order of protection on behalf of himself and the victim. Yeah. So what was he trying to get full custody for him? And she fought that, maybe? Or is he divorcing her after? She was in the midst of the proceeding when she was arrested. Okay, so all right. She was already, her husband was done with her, and she decided to kill their son. And he filed for an order of protection. So he already knew something was up here, but I guess she still had the custody or the power of attorney. Anyway, the attempted murder took place on December 3rd, 2023. The victim, whose name was not released by authorities, is wheelchair bound with spina bifida and needs a ventilator as well as round-the-clock care. He was receiving that care at Regency Home Care in Van Nuys Heights within Ramsey County when Meyer Schnell tried to kill him with a lorazepam overdose. She was hoping he would go to sleep forever. Jeez. Said authorities, quoting from several text messages in which he confessed to the crime. Documents said the victim told investigators that he liked his residence and had everything he needed, and talked about his friends and what he enjoys doing in his spare time, including volunteering weekly at the zoo. What does he do there? Is he like a guide and tells them, well, here's where the monkeys are and all that sort of stuff? I don't know. So it sounds like he's got something of a life that he's good with it. You know, hey, it could be better, but yeah, he wasn't begging his mother, please, Mom, end it. No, this is this selfish, self-centered bitch. The Ramsey County Sheriff's Office said that Meyer Schnell not only attempted to multiple people. What? I mean, she wanted to kill multiple people, right? I guess, including the victims, that she crushed up her lorazepam pills and tried to kill her son, but also provided additional details to investigators in question. On June 15th, 2024, investigator Hughes spoke to the defendant about her confessions. During this Mirandized statement, defendant admitted she did in fact attempt to kill victim in December 2023. Defendant stated she refilled her lorazepam prescription at the beginning of the month and received 31 pills. Investigator Hughes was able to confirm that defendant had visited victim at his group home on December 3rd, 2023. Defendant admitted that she crushed up the remaining lorazepam pills and put them in a slurry of water in a container to bring to the facility. Defendant brought the slurry in its container, carrying it in her pocket until she emptied the container into victim's feeding bag that night prior to leaving. According to investigators, Meyer Schnell said that the whole time I knew I was going to try to do this, and that at all night I was like, am I really doing this? Am I doing this? Am I doing this? I can't believe I'm doing this. Authorities said Mayor Schnell recalled thinking, I'm going to go to jail. Worried about a toxicology report implicating her after the victim survived respiratory failure, she said she completely regretted he survived. I was worried about them finding out through the toxicology, and I was probably trying to figure out, what am I going to do? I'm just going to go to jail. See, she didn't give a crap about her son. It's all about her. Well, anyway, by July 2024, authorities said evidence also showed that 2 days prior to the attempted murder, the defendant refilled her lorazepam prescription. What investigators say happened in early August, just weeks before Meyer Schnell's arrest, is even more shocking. On August 6, 2024, defendant texted victim confessing to him that she put her medicine in his feeding bag, hoping he would go to sleep forever. Investigator Hughes received copies of these messages. Victim texted defendant that he was on the fence about deleting her number. Well, in response to Investigator Hughes' question about how victim was feeling after learning about what happened, he responded, I made it. I'm still here. In describing his reaction to defendant's confession, victim stated, it was heavy, and it's a lot to process. All right. A local affiliate reported that Meyer Schnell was experiencing mental health issues in the months before the crime. Yeah, you throw in the divorce proceedings. We're not getting enough here about the father, and the fact that he wanted both him and his son to have an order of protection against her. Yeah, there's way more to this. And she's like, you're all going to pay. And it's just all her statements about herself. Not the, Jay, did he suffer? Did he hurt? You bitch. So, you got these scenarios of mercy killings and stuff like that. And you can understand in some of them how someone might be driven to it. But this ain't one of them, especially since the son was saying, hey, look, I like it here. I get to go to the zoo and I get to volunteer. I don't know what he's doing as a volunteer. But hey, maybe that's it. He's boned up on all the knowledge of the animals and stuff, and he does a little, review of them for the people visiting the zoo and stuff like that. And he's like, oh man, I really enjoy doing that. Leave him alone. But no, your father is leaving me, and I gotta get to him. I know. I'll get to him through you. Ugh. Yeah. So long, bitch. So, now, of course, this was all mere speculation. But you think it's just a coincidence that the divorce happened at the same time? An order of protection, all that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, she was having some mental issues. Yeah, I'll bet. Ooh. Passed out judge drove the wrong way down the highway, was too intoxicated to perform sobriety test. Yeah, there was another story earlier saying these judges, what the hell's going on the benches these days? Yeah, oh, geez, that last one, she was pissing in the street and puking. Not so much this time around, but oh boy, you never thought you'd be on this side of the law, would you? Did you? Well, anyway, Iowa judge was busted driving the wrong way down a highway and appeared to be passed out. Jeez. As she crashed into a median. Adria Kester, the chief judge of the Hawkeye State's 2nd Judicial District, faces a charge of operating while under the influence. First offense. Well, there you go. See, first offense. Concerned motorists called 911 shortly after 8 p.m. on November 4th after seeing Kester's 2026 GMC Canyon Denali. Wow. Slowly driving east in the westbound lanes of U.S. Highway 30 near Boone, which is some 45 miles northwest of Des Moines. Witnesses reportedly stated they saw the 55-year-old Kester slumped over the wheel as she entered the median. One witness tried to open the driver's door, but it wouldn't open as the truck moved slowly through the median. The witnesses had to climb through a back window to open the vehicle. Deputies with the Boone County Sheriff's Office responded to the scene and reportedly found Kester in the driver's seat, unconscious. They also allegedly found a cup with liquid that smelled like alcohol. Kester was observed to have bloodshot eyes and slurred speech. When deputies pulled her out of the vehicle, she was allegedly unable to walk. Kester appeared to be so drunk that deputies determined it would be unsafe to perform field sobriety tests. She was taken to the hospital for treatment, where staff drew her fluid for analysis. The results of the blood test are still pending. Yeah, but come on. We know the deal. Judge Kester recognizes the seriousness of this situation and is fully cooperating with law enforcement and the judicial process, her attorney, Matt Lindholm, said in a statement. She is committed to addressing this matter responsibly and in accordance with the law. Kester was appointed to the bench in 2017. She was previously a prosecutor, public defender, and private defense attorney. Well, that's nice. But, there's a lot of stress, in the job. And maybe she feels bad by some of the rulings she pretty much had to do, and that can weigh on you. And she's taken to alcohol to deal with that guilt. Could be that, and that's sad. And she's, nice looking lady. But, oh boy, did she screw up there. And again, yes, the stress of the job could be the contributing factor, but odds are it's something else. Maybe it's just an aberration and not the norm, But she's going to have to step down from the bench. I mean, at least there's no video. I mean, that didn't say there was, of her like cussing out the police and, you know who I am? I'm Judge Kester. That would make it so much worse. But she's probably got some amount of class there. And it's like, oh, man, did I screw up? Good Lord. I wasn't thinking and all that type of stuff. So she's probably going to just voluntarily step down. She can always still got a law license. I don't think she'll lose that. I suppose, but geez, you knew better than that. So the penalty must be even more harsh than the average idiot. But anyway, no one got hurt, so it's fine. Don't worry. All right. So, wow, the sun is up. It's morning here as I'm taping this. So, people like with breakfast pancakes. Yeah. And ironically enough, we've got a pancake story here. Sort of. Not the kind you're going to want, though. Man named Pancake battered his elderly father. Yes, a man named Pancake battered his elderly father, leaving the victim with severe bruises and swelling to his eyes and face. Investigators say that Eric Thomas Pancake 38, pummeled his 72-year-old parent during a family dispute in the Palm City home owned by the victim and his 66-year-old spouse. Pancake, who apparently resides with his parents, struck his father on the face and body. When police arrived at the residence, the victim had severe bruises and swelling to his eyes and face consistent with multiple strikes, as he described. Pancake, cops reported, appeared intoxicated and belligerent and said he pleads the fifth in response to law enforcement questions, though he proceeded to turn around and place his hands behind his back. Charged with battery on a victim over the age of 65, a felony, Pancake was booked into the Martin County Jail, from which he was released upon posting $5,000 bond. That better not be from his mother. Jeez, look at this fat slob. Let me guess, what was the old man bitching about? Was he telling you to go get a job? Did you look for a job today? Shut up, Dad. You don't understand. He just wants to play video games, all probably, Asshole. So there you go. At least no one's dead. So, there is that one. But the pancake battered as fuck. The pancake. Maybe it's cocky. I don't know. Mr. Pancake. Jeez. Who'd have thunk it? Well, now this time of year, it's getting colder out there, so you don't have to worry about, the yard too much. You don't have to, trim the hedges and all that crap. Keep it mowed and stuff because, well, pretty much everything green is dying at the moment, and then it'll renew in spring and summer, and then you'll have to mow it all the time, every 5 seconds, But apparently, or recently, someone still dedicated to yard work and to nature in more ways than one. Minnesota man 66 was naked and not afraid. Throwing caution and his clothes to the wind, a 66-year-old Minnesota man was spotted outside his home, chainsawing while butt-ass naked. According to police, who say the suspect has frequently been spotted in the altogether by neighbors. Paul Severson was charged with disorderly conduct in connection with alleged nude displays outside his residence in the city of Lake Crystal. After interviewing multiple witnesses, a sheriff's deputy observed a nude Severson appear from beside a shed. The cop advised Severson that he could not be naked outside with children around and people driving by. Neighbors reported that Severson did yard work while nude, with one eyewitness saying the suspect was chainsawing while butt-ass naked. Severson was named in a November 4th misdemeanor complaint about 2 weeks after a witness told police that one of their children saw him naked for the first time as the child rode the bus to school for that morning. That means all the other kids on the bus saw this idiot naked as well. So, golly, you're running around naked with a chainsaw. Are you tempting fate? Do you want to cut it off? I mean, anything could happen there. Hell, even a weed whacker. It's a weed whacker, not a tallywhack. Yeah. But he's really dedicated to the yard work. I guess he's going to cut down some trees. Oh, yeah, I need to get on that. Well, I hadn't done the laundry yet, but I don't really care for that. I like being outdoors in the all together. That's how you get back to nature. We need to get back in touch with the trees and the grass, and I just want to feel all that, the air blowing on my balls. Maybe it's that. Well, maybe if you have a cabin out in the middle of the woods somewhere and no one ever sees it, you could probably do that, but not with a school bus driving by. Crap, was that the reason? Wonder if they could get a warrant for his computer and all that, you know? Maybe. I don't know. But, geez Louise. What about just a T-shirt and shorts, you know? But still, you're messing with a chainsaw that close to the Johnson. He's just asking for trouble, you know? And he's going to bitch about getting arrested or whatever. Hell, that's the least of your problems with that kind of crap happens, you know? Anyway, all right, for our final story, we're going to chew this one and see how it turns out. Yeah. It involves tobacco, chewing tobacco. Yeah. Perp, but the ew in chewing tobacco. A Florida man who apparently mistook a 7-Eleven toilet for a Ritz-Carlton bathroom was arrested for striking a female clerk in the face with a wad of his chewing tobacco due to the convenience store's lack of toilet paper. Look, there's nothing she can do. She's supposed to conjure up toilet paper out of thin air. Investigators say Dalton Albert, 40, entered the Pinellas Park business around 8:30 a.m. to utilize the bathroom. Albert subsequently argued with the victim, Razia Sultana, over the lack of toilet paper. As recorded by a security camera, Albert gathers a wad of tobacco from his mouth and throws it at the victim, striking her in the face. An officer who responded to the 7-Eleven reported that Sultana had remnants of the defendant's spit and tobacco on her face and clothing. Charged with misdemeanor battery, Albert was booked into the county jail. He was released after posting $1,000 bond. According to court records, Albert's rap sheet includes convictions for passing bad checks, marijuana possession, theft, driving with a revoked license, and careless driving, which explains the revoked license, of course. Yeah, he's an asshole and thinks the world owes him something and thinks he can just take it out on the convenience store clerk. And since I hold the same job, I don't particularly care for this type of crap. Look, if I got more toilet paper, I'll put it in there. How do you think it got in there in the first place, asshole? But after you morons take that stuff and flush, I don't know, tons of it to back it up, a couple of guys have done that. Court, oh, you miserable bastards. Stuff like that. If it's not there, look. And I'm sure Sultana here did this thing. Look, I'm sorry, man. I'm really sorry about that. Sometimes there's some on the shelf for sale. I'll go get that. So here you go. At least he didn't paint the walls, you know. Sometimes that happens. That's when you got to ban him from the store. This guy's getting banned. Don't you ever come back, you piece of shit. You spit his crap into her face like that. Butthole. Anyway, there you go. It's still a lighter note, though, after all that murder and stuff and being betrayed by your own mother. Good Lord. Horrible, horrible stuff. But, you know, it ends on spitty tobacco and I don't know, what was the other one? Oh, the naked guy. I mean, that guy's a menace to himself, you know. So there you go. It's not all bad, but it's all messed up. There you go. So odds are I won't be able to do the pop culture breakdown show later this evening, but later in the night, if you're up and that's like daytime for where you are overseas, I don't know, then come on by. I'll do a live stream, probably a drawing stream. I don't know about the comic book show. I really ragged out the voice, just this. It's a little over an hour, and that's it. So I'm sorry. So then we'll go with that, and we'll see what perhaps may come later in the night. So let's see here. Oh boy, I got a super tip. Okay, let me go to the super tip. Oh yeah, my so now I have super tip. Both up on top because I have it in OBS. I forgot about that. But anyway, all right, let me go ahead and play this one from. Oh, wait, that is an old one. I thought it was new. Damn it. I still don't get a super tip. Look, I'm doing the best I can. Well, thanks anyway, even though that's. Gee, how come I didn't catch that? Yeah, that's like. That's a long time ago, isn't it? Yeah, that's like almost a month ago. Over a month ago. Jeez. It's like I can't tell time or something. Now, not only did I humiliate myself, I made it worse. Oh, well, I'll have to dwell on this. A Thompson says, bad storm, bad traffic, some flooding. Whoa, didn't get to see Badlands yet. Well, I did. And you know what? I've already taped my review, so I'm going to go ahead. I just don't have a video part of it. So I'm going to put that together. And, that will be out shortly today. Forcible sodomy, ouch. Yeah, I would think so. Mark XRP, forcible sodomy is playing at the Palladium this. Yes, I'm sure it is. Crouching Taylor Hidden Swift has the waving guy. And Mark XRP says hi. All right, hi Mark. Thanks for watching, everybody. And we'll do it again soon. But again, probably going to have a busy day somewhat, and we'll probably be unconscious still by the time Pop Culture Breakdown starts, so I won't be able to be there, but I shall rise from my comatose stages later in the night, and we'll fire up a live stream. I don't know what Pat's doing. He probably will be doing one, so maybe I'll jump on that too. But I hope to do one where I draw stuff. That'll be fun. All right. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching again. And we'll do it again as soon as I am able. Yeah. 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 Try to make this as smooth. There it is. There's the theme song. So there you go. I'm not kidding. I'm leaving. The show's done. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. We'll do it again soon.
Killers, killing it, killing it, killing it, killing it. Nailsin News, news, news. Where all the money go? Ain't nobody gonna know. Do you trust your meat to take a walk down the street while killers be killing and killing and killing and killing? Nailsin News, news. Ain't nobody gonna know. Do you trust your meat to take a walk down the street while killers be killing and killing and killing and killing? Nailsin News, 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 news.
please wrap up.
Look at me.
Okay, we're all done here.
Fucking
Hey,
pathetic.
no, we're all done. Come on.